As an introvert, how do you feel about this quote by Jim Carrey? Solitude is dangerous. It's very addictive. It becomes a habit after you realize how calm and peaceful it is. It's like you don't want to deal with people anymore because they drain your energy. Reddit Opinion 1. Getting out of the house is a good first step. Even if it's just going to the store, finding some sort of group related to your interests is the next best thing. Bonus points if you're interested in something outside of your comfort zone. Sports games play at nearly every bar. A lot of comic book. Stores will host a DN or board game night. Video game stores tend to host small tournaments for various games to bring in extra revenue. Books clubs are also still very much a thing. Give it a fair shot and let yourself mold back into something more sociable before you jump into the deep end. If you don't give yourself some time to evolve a little bit, you open yourself up to more toxic situations that can only worsen any underlying anxiety, stress, and depression. Reddit Opinion 2. Extremely true. I am 36. Got divorced 5 years ago. I date and have had girlfriends. But it is difficult to want to be with somebody when it is just so much easier to be alone. I barely have friends. I don't go out much except to work, and it's mostly because it's just so nice to be by myself. I want friends. I want love. But solitude is just so comfortable and easy. I have my books, my piano, my video games, TV. I love to cook. My house is clean and decorated exactly how I want it. It's hard to feel a need for anyone else. But I am afraid that by the time I am 50, I will wish I had spent more time trying to find a wife or friends or something. But I just don't feel the desire to now. Reddit Opinion 3. It's about 10 years I live in the woods. So there's that. It started by chance, but now it would be impossible for me to go back and live even in a small town. But it seems to me it's not so much about being addicted. It's just incontrovertibly better. If you want to see people, you can still drive and meet them. As for people draining your energy, just cut toxic relationships and cherish healthy ones. Reddit Opinion 4. I can relate. It's definitely easy for me to fall into the hole of seclusion and then falling victim to my own devices. But I've had to learn to balance solitude and being social because it's also dangerous for me to be around too many people for too long. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I've got some intelligence for sure, but I've realized I think at a much slower rate than most people. This means I need to carefully select what I devote my thought process to. And when around other people, this quickly uses up all of my RAM. When this happens, I can become a little neurotic. Reddit Opinion 5. Solitude is only dangerous if you're extroverted. Otherwise, if you're introverted, it's not an addiction. It's how you function. That's like saying wheelchairs are dangerous. They're very addictive. It becomes a habit after you realize how much less your feet hurt. It's like you don't even want to stand anymore because they always hurt after a bit now. Like, sure, if you have both your legs and they work, sitting 100% of the time is going to be really bad for you. But if you need the wheelchair because your legs don't work or aren't there, then it's just how you function. Jim's quote reads how an extrovert thinks what being an introvert is like, and it's totally false. Reddit Opinion 6. I love this post and the replies. Someone mentioned ambiverts, and I think that's how I describe myself. My very long marriage blew up last year, and I've been living almost completely isolated for almost 8 months. I found the solitude overwhelming for a day or two, the silence for longer. I would end my remote working day and put the TV on just to feel like there was some life in the house while I cooked in the kitchen. After a while, I stopped doing that. Sometimes I'll put on music or a podcast while I cook, but I found that I love the quiet. I adore the stillness and peace with my thoughts. During work time, I interact with people remotely all day, and it's enjoyable, if often tiring, but I'm very strict about work-life balance. Once my day is done, nobody from work can contact me. If I want peace, I can have it. I've come to cherish the time I get to spend remotely with a very small number of good friends, family, and my kids. There's definitely a balance you can strike between enjoying the isolation and mindfulness, and knowing that there are people out there who care about you and that you get on with. And it doesn't have to be too much. A small number of really good relationships are worth their weight in gold. Reddit opinion 7. I completely agree. As an introvert, COVID was a blessing. Sorry. Oh no, we can't go to work or hang out in groups. Darn it. But after 11 months of living alone and being alone, it's too much. It's depressing. I don't even know how to talk to people anymore. And I feel myself identifying with homeless people who talk to themselves aloud for companionship. Do I want to go to a party? No. But like Jim Carrey says, it's addicting, and my body absolutely craves the comfort of solitude. Is it dangerous? I can see how it could be because I feel less and less connected to the rest of humanity, and my social skills and comfort around people are dwindling. It's like a slippery slope, and I'm sliding deeper and deeper down the hole of no return the longer this pandemic continues. Do I want to be around people? Hell no, but I'm realizing that forced daily interactions are actually good for my mental state, and that is a huge revelation for an introvert. Reddit opinion 8. I consider myself an introvert. When I was younger, I went to certain lengths to isolate myself, really only speaking to a handful of friends. In the moment, isolation can feel cozy, but for me, after indulging in it too much, it only exacerbated my social awkwardness and social anxiety. I still enjoy alone time. I'm still a chronic night owl. However, I have come to recognize socialization as important for your manners and mental health. I still detest a multitude of social situations. But oftentimes, even if the experience is initially unpleasant, driving into a slightly uncomfortable situation will leave you liking yourself far more in the long run. Trust me when I say that the regret of missing out will sting for far longer than the discomfort of feeling like everyone is judging you for a couple of hours. Reddit opinion 9. Personally, I disagree. A lot of people who become solitary are those who have just had a lack of good social experiences, or simply a lack of social experiences at all, so they have no way to get social momentum, so to speak. There is the odd case, as in someone who just really does enjoy their own company more than most, such as Henry David Thoreau allegedly did, but even he had friends. I would argue, in fact, I know that most people in this boat are just people who have forgotten what it's like to have a good time at a social gathering. I can speak with some authority on this because I was once in this boat. From ages 14 to 17, I was pretty depressed and anxious and just didn't have many great experiences in high school. I would have put myself in the category of people that you're referring to here. After I get these issues taken care of, it amazed me how much fun a day of life could be. I was on cloud 9. Reddit opinion 10. The two best and worst things that's happened to me was moving and not finding a roommate, and getting my own room to work in at work. Between those and the influx of self-checkouts, I've managed to go about 3 weeks with no more human contact than what was necessary through email and passing by each other in stores. The more I get used to this pleasure, though, the more I find even small socialization periods to be as draining as large events used to be. Now, after about 5 years of this, I am to the point that I have been seriously considering selling everything and buying a live aboard, sailboat, and seeing the world solo. Reddit opinion 11. Hey, so introversion is not a thing the way that people think it is. It isn't a diagnosis. There have been studies that suggest that everyone needs time to recharge. Not just introverts. There is a great deal of overlap in how introverts and extroverts behave, and most differences in introverts. And extroverts is incredibly superficial. People who believe strongly in a difference are putting themselves in a box for no scientifically proven reason. The quote, "in light of that," is fine. Do I want to not have my boss yelling at me for a dumb mistake that he made? Absolutely. Do I want to deal with 3,000 emails? No. Do I want to make small talk at the grocery store that is pointless? No. Solitude gets me all those things. But I don't see why it would be an introvert and extrovert thing. Reddit opinion 12. Except last year, during which I had quite a bad time of loneliness, depression, and alcoholism. I strongly agree. Being alone is natural to me, as it's how I've lived for the last 9 years. 27 years old in just a few days, actually. Apart from the few times when I feel lonely, the solitude is freeing, liberating. No one to be accountable to, except myself. No one silently judging for your quirks. Your place, your habits, your time. I do enjoy spending some times with my friends, sharing a meal, watching a movie, as long as it's not with people who are commenting all the time, playing a game. But the more people there are around, the faster I get tired. I can't tell you how many parties I've been to that I've thoroughly enjoyed from the start, and that I then wanted to leave as fast as possible when it had been going for more than 5 to 6 hours. One thing I especially hate is when there's something going on. Everybody does it because it's fun, and it's expected of me to do it, too. That they drain your energy. Part of the quote is exactly what happens in those moments. Reddit opinion 13. It's very true, and the part about it being dangerous is very insightful. I find myself more and more only wanting to interface with close friends and family, but the problem is that if those people ever go away, I feel like I'd forget how to interact and talk to people, how to make new friends and acquaintances, and how to approach others with an open mind. Listen to them, and grow as a person through that interaction. I would eventually get lonely. I'm an introvert, and I like interacting with others, just on my own terms, which is less frequently and in smaller bursts than most people. I would get lonely if I didn't interact enough, and I feel like too much solitude could eventually lead to that. Especially once my kids grow up and leave. I feel like this is probably what happens to a lot of older folks. I see where their kids have left, and their spouse eventually passes. They aren't practiced in forming new relationships. Reddit opinion 14. One is not simply an introvert or an extrovert. As with most things, it's a matter of degrees on a continuum. I tend towards introversion, and I agree with Carrey's sentiment. I find it immensely pleasing to avoid outside contact at length. I do find, however, that on occasion I speak on the phone with some of my work colleagues outside of meetings. When I talk with them individually for a few minutes, I come away feeling more invigorated than I did before. Too much, of course, and I'm exhausted. But for me, I find, especially after 11 months of quarantine with only my wife, it is to my benefit to have a little more contact than I might think is needed. I have no doubt, however, that there are some who are even more introverted than I, and for them, Carrey's sentiment does not hold water. Your mileage may vary. Reddit opinion 15. In Jim Carrey's case, I can see how the dude feels drained being around other people. I think he has a need or desire to always be on and the center of attention. There's probably a sense of disappointment with some people when they don't get the Jim Carrey that they see on TV and movies when they are around him. Imagine always having to feel like you need to be the life of the party, even when there's no party. That would be draining as heck. I think Chris Farley had a hard time dealing with this as well. Dude turned to drugs because always being on is near impossible without some sort of stimulant. Reddit opinion 16. I think it's more accurate to say can be dangerous. I don't know, the older I've gotten, the more important it has become to. It's less indulging in solitude and more surrounding myself with the right people and putting up boundaries in relationships that require them, or just learning how to detach from them. I am a person who enjoys time to myself. Drives my wife nuts sometimes, but it was easy to come to a middle ground with her on what that looks like. My brother, on the other hand, at least with me, he has this very specific idea of what our relationship needs to look like, And when it doesn't look that way, he gets angry and toxic. And over time, I've learned to create boundaries and distance. Things like that. My life without my brother, sorry to report, it's more rewarding and pleasant. Nothing wrong with that though. I guess the thing is, I really believe on some level we do need others. So yeah, a person who may have a bad go at life, I'd hate to see them just decide to become a total recluse, because the right people are out there. And while I can absolutely agree that solitude can be nice, there's a middle ground. Reddit opinion 17. Riding motorcycles, wearing a helmet, suited up to where most people would not recognize you unless they knew you. It's complete solitude, Zen. Find a corner, say to yourself, I'm gonna nail that apex. Come out of it with a grin, realizing nobody felt what you did. Nobody can see the stuff eating. Grin on your face. If you ride with Bluetooth audio speakers in your full-face helmet, it's the equivalent of laying down on the couch with a great book after school, listening to your iPod while your sibling watches TV in the next room. Every time you pass someone else on a bike, no matter what they are riding, you wave. You know that deep down they are enjoying the same amount in some form or another of escapism, forming solitude. You hope they're at peace. You wonder how much gas you have left in your tank because the trip mileage is climbing. You resent taking off your helmet if you don't just leave it on like me, putting on a mask and walking into a gas station to find a bathroom. You go back out to your bike with a fresh full tank of gas, chug a little bit of Gatorade, press play on your music playing device, and you head off to wherever else you don't have to deal with other people. I think it's extremely addictive. I love Jim's quote about solitude, and I don't care if the post is 5 hours old at this point. It feels amazing to get away and drop all the cares from daily monotony of conversations with those around you at work, or even just the casual waiting in line somewhere to buy cigarettes wondering if masks will ever go away. Customers you dread, schoolwork you don't feel like doing, cooking food at the end of the day. I don't hate any of that. It's normal regular life activities and routine with perspectives ranging on your mood from day to day, based on interaction with others. I am very extroverted. I love when I can be the center of attention. I'll admit it, being a social butterfly comes just as easy for me as it when I was a child. Alas, there is just something about enjoying the solitude of you and nothing else. It's calming. It's working under a car in the garage, having a beer and sitting on the back porch, playing a solo RPG, playing guitar in your bedroom, with your amp cranked. It's peaceful. Serenity. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate your time. Hope you enjoyed the video. A thumbs up would be great. Share your thoughts on the stories in the comments. The whole community cares. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss anything. Have a great day. See you in the next video.